Really excited today to have Ruth with us, and we're going to have a little look about autobiographical writing. If you've got any questions, you can just pop them to me in the chat, or any concerns. There's no pressure at all. But I'll just hand over to Ruth, who is going to introduce herself.
Hi, nice to see you. I'm Ruth Middleton, as my box says. I met Lydia at York St John University when she was helping out with a course on autobiographical and memoir writing. And so she heard some of my poetry and invited me along today to talk to you. I'm going to talk about it more in detail a little bit later, but I've always done some writing, and 20 years ago I had quite a life-changing accident, which left me with a number of different disabilities and long-term sort of chronic illness things. And initially, when I was in a coma for a while, and then sort of slowly coming around and recovering, and I didn't want anything to do with writing to do with this at all. I wanted to write about, you know, sort of flowers and things that were sort of a million miles away from me. But over the more recent years, I've realised that actually writing is really important to my sort of personal well-being, and also that it can help other people. So I've found that, as well as writing for myself, my writing's been used by student OTs, student nurses, and other people, just to give a flavour of disability. But obviously it's just my flavour, but that's what I'm hoping that we can do this afternoon, have a look at some of that, and maybe think about whether you want to do some writing for yourselves. So back to Lydia.
Fab, thanks, Ruth. We just thought we could start by, if everyone's happy, introducing ourselves. But obviously our names are a really important part of kind of autobiography and who we are. And so we thought you could kind of share something about your name. So it might be why you're called that, whether you like it, a random fact about your name. It can be absolutely anything. So all you need to do is just say your name and something super random or super relevant. If you don't want to just pass it along, it's absolutely fine. So I'm happy to go first. And my name is Lydia, and I'm called Lydia because when my mum was pregnant, she was reading Pride and Prejudice, and she called me Lydia. Instead of calling me all the elegant ones, she went for the sister who likes to run around and cause a lot of carnage. But I actually quite like that because I think it's quite accurate. So, Fern, are you happy to go next? We'll just go around the screen.
Yeah, my name's Fern. I'm named because my parents are like traveling and met in Australia, so I think they decided to name me after a plant to be a bit alternative, I feel. So that, yeah, that's my name. But I do quite like it now. Didn't like it as a kid.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Jennifer, are you happy to go next?
I think my dad was called Jerry, and he wanted to call me Geraldine, which would have been very confusing. And I think my mum suggested my name Jennifer. But interestingly enough, I just wanted to add that I have changed my surname twice. Once when I got married, and then I went from my married surname to my mother's maiden name, thinking I was doing a big feminist thing by taking my mother's maiden name, but then realizing that where did my mum get her maiden name from? Her father. But anyway, so I'm now Wilson. My dad was absolutely upset that I didn't go back to his name, but so there, it's interesting. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a great story. Judith Sullivan, are you happy to go next?
All right. Well, Judith, I don't know a lot about why I'm named Judith, but my story is the only story I've got to recount is a little bit like Jennifer's. As some of you know, my husband died 5 weeks ago, and it's very interesting to observe how people just assume that women will take their husbands' names. Mm. I mean, and the number of people refer to me as Mrs. Trolls, it doesn't upset me. It doesn't upset me. But the cutest story was, I mentioned to the people I had been in communication with from Parkinson's in the United States that Clive had died. And I got a very nice note from them in the mail saying that they have a virtual wall and they would be very happy to put a little space in for Mr. Clive Sullivan, which I thought was very cute because obviously that's my name and it's also the name of some guy who reports the news. So there you go. That's my story about my name.
Thanks. These would be some great introductions. I can see it already. Autobiography starting off like this. Constance?
I'm named after a great aunt, and since I've been, in inverted commas, older, I like Constance. But when I was a student, obviously it was an old-fashioned name, 50 odd years ago when I was a student. I was called Connie, so my older friends still call me Connie, but anybody I'm introduced to now, my name is Constance. And my dad and mum will be very pleased about that because they said my name isn't Connie.
Yeah. I get called Lyd and I get the same. All my comments, it's Lydia, it's not Lyd, but it always happens, doesn't it? Judith with the screen off, are you happy to?
Yeah. I was supposed to be called Linda. That's what they picked me as. But there were this with a doll, and you had to pick a name, and they picked Judith. So that's why I've got Judith Linda.
Aww. That's such a sweet story. Ruth?
Yeah, I always felt quite shortchanged in that my name was Ruth, which was just the 4 letters, and I had no middle name, and my sister didn't have a middle name. She was called Catherine Middleton, which obviously meant that when there was Prince William getting married, she got lots of attention and all the rest of it. But she then changed her name, not to marry Prince William, but to marry somebody else. I haven't ever married, so my name stayed the same. But yeah, I used to always think it was dreadful that I didn't have a second name or couldn't do anything with the Ruth. Not really possible to shorten or lengthen it, although people do. It's a Rue or Ruthie. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, my middle name is Amanda, and you can borrow it.
Yeah.
If you would like to be Ruth Amanda Middleton,
Thank you.
I'm not going to tell anybody.
I think it's a bit of a thread, though, that as people get older, they sort of do seem to like their names more or grow into them. I think quite a lot of us struggle initially.
Yeah, when you're younger, you're like, why did I ever get called that? I'd rather be called this, and this, than that. That's me. So. Because
I haven't got another name, and yet my sister's got 3, and my brother's got 2, and I've only got 1.
Such brilliant stories there that could come out. Ruth's just going to explain a little more about what autobiographical writing actually is and the different forms that it can take.
Yeah, I mean, when we think about autobiographies, I think we often think about sort of thick, heavy tomes on the bookshelf. Obviously, autobiographies are a very popular kind of book, in particular around sort of celebrities or royalty or whatever. And I don't know how much of those that you read or whatever, but I think it's important for a session like this that we think as widely as we can, really. I like to think of anything that could be, my mum kept a diary for many, many years. In fact, it's upset me quite a bit that one of the things that she's done in lockdown apparently is to destroy all these diaries. And I thought that when I was able to look at those diaries, I'd be able to sort of answer all the queries I've got about my mum's life, but obviously not. So I shall have to try and talk to her about them. but it could be about journaling, it could be your diary, it could be one of the things that I've done at different stages in my life is almost sort of written a letter to myself or letters to other people that I've tried to explain about how I feel about something. Try not to send those letters or not to send them immediately, but you can include those. Autobiographies can be photographic, they could be pictures that you've taken. As I say, some people would write in longhand, some people would write poetry, anything really that relates to you, how you feel about things. At the moment there is, and I think reflecting really the last year, there's a lot of books that seek to look and talk about the self, but by looking at nature and the importance of that in terms of our lives. I'm very committed really to anything that enables people to improve their well-being, and I think that nature is one of those things that most conversations that you have these days include people saying, I never realised how important nature was to me, whether that be somebody's balcony garden or somebody's back garden or just getting out into local streets. It seems to be a very common experience that many of us have. Oh, I've been highlighted or spotlighted. I'm going away now, you see, so going back over to Lydia, you said. Now you're just highlighted me.
Oh, no, that was going to happen for everyone. I thought it was just for me, sorry.
That's all right, don't worry. No, that was really fab. I think it's so important not to think that it just has to be sat writing and feel super structured, because it can come in loads of different forms and things. That was super helpful. We just wanted to take a minute and get any of your recommendations really. If you've read any books that have talked about kind of people's personal journey or their experience and wanted to recommend them to the group, want to talk about them at all. We just wanted to take a moment to see if anyone had any recommendations that have really impacted them positively. So you're free to use the chat if you want to put anyone's autobiographies in there, or just talk about anything that you've read really. I'm trying to think if there's any that jumped out to me recently. Oh, I've read the Julie Andrews autobiography. So just feel free to kind of have a little think if there's anything that you've read that's been.
I've read quite a few celebrity ones on, like Marilyn Monroe, Montgomery Clift. I've listened to the audio of Julie Andrews, which I can really recommend, particularly the bit around The Sound of Music. But I've also, the one that I really love is Helen Keller, you know, who was blind, The Story of My Life. And I'm reading it again. I've read it about 4 times. And of course, the Anne Frank diary, which I read when I was 14 too. So they're all my recommendations. And one that I really do like, which again I've reread, is Kitty Hart Returned to Auschwitz, which sounds really gloomy, but it's about the resilience of the spirit, and I love that. And they made it into I think they made it into a TV 2-part series, but I loved it. I thought it was great. But yeah, Helen Keller, I will recommend it. The Story of My Life.
I'll pop her in the chat so we've got it all written down. Will you be able to take notes from this bit and to get these written down if it's recorded?
Yes, I can send you the recording after, Lydia, if that's all. Yeah,
that's fab. So we'll be able to kind of write a list of all the recommendations and make sure that they're sent out to everyone. I think Judith is just getting some more. Yeah, it's really interesting how you get a different perspective on someone. I think once you've really read their words and felt what they've been through, rather than just kind of guessing and things, it can really be such an insight. Oh, she's back.
I think audio books as well, if biographies, if they're by the person, like the Julie Andrews one, which I've just sent to my cousin. It was great to hear her voice recording it. So if you don't feel like reading, you can listen.
She's got such a poignant voice as well, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Changes it. What's that one, Judith?
This guy discovered stuff about his family. He uncovered some family secrets that I mean, I cannot recommend this one highly enough. My husband, who was a reader but a very slow one, just raced through it because he was so. I mean, this guy just found out stuff about his mother that nobody knew.
What's that called? What's that
I'm sorry,
one called?
John Lanchester, Family Romance.
Oh, okay.
I'll take notes from the recording and make sure it's sent out to everyone, so don't worry too much about having to.
And then this is a woman who was in a cult. It was like the brothers, the Christian brothers, but the Christian brothers were positively hippies who had orgies compared to these people. And she didn't get out on her own, but she got out, her parents got out because they realized what it was doing to the education and comfort of their kids. So Rebecca Stott. Rain. And last but not least, this woman effectively uncovered how her sister was murdered and by whom. She did the job the police in South Africa hadn't been able to do. Once we were sisters, and there's obviously a picture of her with her sister. Once we were sisters.
Well, there's some really great ones. I think it's always nice to hear what other people have read.
Well, if I've saved them, it means I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
I want to lend them to other people.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same. I was having a look last night and I thought the ones that I've still got are ones I've read and enjoyed. One of them is The World I Fell Out Of, which is by somebody called Melanie Reed. She's a journalist from the Sunday Times, and she had a horse riding accident about 10 years ago, and it's the story of her sort of changes to her life and some of the pre and post accident, but she writes a weekly column in the Saturday Times that I read because it's the only place I can find a regular sort of positive but very realistic and pragmatic look at disability and some of the things that happen. And she doesn't worry about talking about how difficult going to the toilet is, or putting things in nice words. She tells it as it is. So she is one person that I'd recommend. And then the other one is somebody called Kathy Rensenbrink, who actually the book that I was going to recommend was called The Last Act of Love, and that's the story of her brother who had an accident and was then in a coma for considerable length of time before dying. And this book is that's the sort of story of what happened. And then this A Manual for Heartache is the story really of living with the consequences of what happened. But either of those, again, I think they're both well written and interesting books.
It just reminded me of The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. Has anyone read that? Yeah.
I didn't read it, but I saw the film.
Yeah, the book. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll make sure that if the chat can be saved and I'll get the recording, they'll all be sent out, so we'll all have a nice long list of recommendations. But now Ree's actually going to read some of her work that she's written. So if Ree could be spotlighted again, so my face isn't so big. That would be helpful. There we go.
I'm going to read two poems that I've written. The first one is called Snow and has just been published. This is my little publicity bit in the Emma Press's Anthology of Illness. It sounds.
What are they called?
Sorry,
what's the publisher called?
The Emma Press, and it's the Anthology of Illness. And again, we'll put the details of that in. It's when I read through the poems in here, so many of them actually made me smile. Several of them made me laugh. A few definitely made me want to cry. I shan't tell you what my own makes me do, but I think you'll find a very wide range of experiences of illness and disability in here. So, snow, and the farmers struggle to reach their cattle. I watch on the news as tractors and men with snow up to the top of their wellies spend hours shoveling, ploughing, keeping the animals alive. Snow. At home in the suburbs, I see children with bright coloured sledges grinning as they skate down the hill on the road outside my home. The children are warm in stripy woolen knits. I pull my blanket over my knees. I can't afford the extra heating. As if making a trek across the tundra, I struggle to reach the kitchen. Holding on to the three-wheeled walker, I inch forward. This is the last tea bag. The milk has gone lumpy, congealing in the mug. The mug slips through my arthritic hands. I watch it splinter around my feet. I cry out. I hear my agonized moan echo. As I fall, I strain to hear the TV. Lying on the hard-tiled floor, I feel warmed by my own sweet and hot urine. I grow cold and stale as the night wears on. Behind the evergreen hedges and down the winding drives, my neighbours will be settling down. An aperitif, napkins on their knees, music or a film. I wonder whether the farmer reached his cattle in the snow. Apparently, we've got snow forecast for tomorrow and the end of the week, so hopefully not as bad as the year that I started writing lots about snow. I think it was 2013, 2012, when I certainly felt as if I was sort of on, I suppose it was practice for this year, really, because it was very isolating and sort of stuck in the snow. This one that I'm going to read now is more about the experience of being disabled and sort of the experience of having care. And I called it Shards of a Glass Half Full. I had wanted to be up on time, showered, dressed, and early for the seminar. I had wanted to sip welcome drinks and to chat over complimentary fruit pastries. I remember when some years ago, I'd jump out of bed at the alarm, maybe snooze, but be ready in less than 20 minutes, hair styled, lipstick on. But this morning, a call from the agency. There has been an emergency. A colleague is sick. We will get to you when we can. Sorry. I listen for the keys. My door, my home. I wait in bed for them to hoist my uncomfortable joints into the shower. The water fails to soothe my tense shoulder blades. I grunt responses to their genial chatter. Yes, the water isn't too hot, I say. Yes, I saw Corrie last night. And maybe, I want to say, if you could be just a little bit quicker, there might be just a chance, a small chance of rescuing the day I had planned. The carers ignore the clothes I had chosen last night, the clothes I had folded, placed carefully at the end of my bed. They go for comfy, simple, no zips, manoeuvre my legs into grey leggings. Have you taken your tablets? I don't bother to reply. I never do. They tick the box, meds given. They've arranged for the physio to visit at 11 today. I was going out, I say, as they back out of my door. I wait at home and the physio phones at noon. The appointment will be delayed. Staff holidays. Of course, I understand. I was going out, I say. I hear the dial tone. I slump in my chair. It is the middle of the day. I am at home. I try to see the positives. I tell myself that my glass is half full. But today it's just too hard. And I would like to get hold of that glass and throw it, smash it, see it break into so many pieces. It can't ever be put back together again.
Thanks so much, Ruth.
Thank you.
I remember the first time I heard Ruth's poetry and I was like, I absolutely love it. Does anyone else want to feedback anything about either of the poems?
Yeah, Ruth, I liked how you expressed your frustration, you know, with the glass, and how you also described the last poem as like matter of fact, you know, with the walking with the thing. It was all just, you don't make a big deal of it, but it has a big impact, I think, by the fact that you understate what you're writing. And I really enjoyed that, because I think sometimes, particularly with disability, it's easy to make a big thing of it. And I think, you know, if you're living, my partner's got secondary progressive MS. Yeah. So we just take a day at a time. And at first, you know, people's reaction is very, oh. And then you think, well, it's just everyday life. It's just that your life has changed in a different way, you know? And you don't really want tea and sympathy. You want people to understand. So I thought your poems were really, really good at doing that, you know? This is my life now and my frustrations, but also it's my daily life, you know? I loved them. I thought they were great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think it's important because one of the things that I'm sure you've all got experience of is either as a disabled person or somebody who can, you're sort of either seen as being some kind of inspirational, you know, sort of managing against the odds. And so, you know, sometimes people can tell me I'm being inspirational when I've done nothing that anybody, you know, I've got out of bed, I've maybe had a cup of tea, I've made a meal or something, and I'm inspirational, you know. In the past they'd never have said that about me. Or, you know, so you've got that end, or you've got the sort of other view, which quite often, you know, I sort of think, oh, people see me, they see me at home, maybe they see, you know, I've put on lots of weight, I'm this, that, and the other, you know. There's another view of being disabled. So certainly my own stuff that I write tends to be very, you know, I try to describe how it is. And, you know, as you're saying, you know, a lot of it is about getting up and getting on with the day. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not so good. And, you know, those things are just as important. But sometimes you know, you can use too much language almost to sort of separate, and I don't want to do that. I want people to be able to feel what it's like.
Well, it definitely achieves that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I agree. The people going, oh, you're so brave. It's like, what's the alternative?
Yes, yeah.
You know, did you really think that I was just going to shrivel up into a heap?
Yes, because numerous people say, oh, I wouldn't have been able to cope if that had happened to me.
They would.
And you think, well, actually, I didn't ever think about it, because you just
do it.
How it happens.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, thank you. So Ruth's going to talk us through an exercise now. You don't have to participate, but, you know, we can all give it a go, and then there'll be time to share things back. So you could share things from that exercise, or if you've already got writing that you want to share, we will have some time to do that. So just bear that in mind. So if Ruth, if you're happy to talk us through a little bit of writing.
I mean, I don't know whether you've brought pens and paper or what you did. Oh, very good, Jennifer. I mean, we were trying to, we didn't want to be sort of very prescriptive in terms of an exercise, because as we started off with, even talking about our names starts us thinking about our autobiography and who we are. We were looking, I think both when Lydia and I were talking, we were thinking about how we'd look at our lives and the things that might be interesting, both to ourselves and to other people if we ever wanted to share our writing. There's no need to share it, but if you did. And we wondered whether you could maybe either write or possibly draw some kind of, I'm just trying to think of the best way to put it. I did this drawing exercise previously, and I think Lydia might have done it as well, just pointing out some of the things that happened, almost like a timeline, and sometimes just sort of seeing it, not necessarily going up and down, but some of the major things that happen gives you some sort of special moments that you might want to try to talk about or write about. Or if you're not into the idea of drawing, maybe you want to think in terms of, if somebody was going to buy my book, or they were going to put a film on of me, what would they have as the main sort of chapter headings, or what would be the main bits that they'd want to cover? That sounds like a very big task in a very short amount of time. Was there anything that you wanted to add to that, Lydia? Or
No, I think that made sense. Yeah. We were just kind of thinking poignant events or moments that might translate into chapters, weren't we? And then kind of the line drawing, even if you get one chapter title that you think might be something really interesting to talk about, that might be an easier thing to think about in the time that we've got. So even if you just get one chapter title, I think that's what I'll aim for. Think about that.
So is it just like a chapter title of something exciting in my life? Is that the sort of what I do? Okay, cool.
Yeah, that works, definitely. So should we just take a few minutes and just...
do you want to say a time for it, Lydia?
Yeah, should we say 5:15 minutes, yeah, just to have a little think? Yeah, if you just want to come to the end of the bit you were writing, 30 more seconds and then we'll come back together. Fab, are we ready to come back? I feel like it's gone dark in that 5 minutes. It was like light outside before and now it's completely dark. If anyone wants to share back, you can either share back what you've written or just share how you found it, if you found it difficult or if you actually found it quite useful. That's absolutely fine to share as well. So if anyone wants to share, then go ahead.
I think I couldn't really think of anything, which was quite depressing, but one of the things I came up with, which was part of a chapter in my life, is probably doing when I did like scuba diving, rescue diver training in Malaysia. So that was quite exciting part of my life, and then the things I got to do with that and those stories that happened, being chased by fish and losing my scuba diver instructor. So that's the that's what came to my mind anyway.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. That'd be such a great chapter to be able to go into that, and I think that'd be so funny just to hear about all those different stories that you've had and you remember from that. It's always the things that jump out, I think, that jump out as the most genuine because you want to talk about them. So it's really nice to kind of go with that gut instinct of that's what jumps out to me, because that's clearly something you enjoyed and you would like to write about. So that's a fab one.
Definitely.
Brilliant. How did anyone else find it?
I did something about my mixed heritage. I don't know if I can show it to you. I've been writing because I was born in England, but my parents are Anglo-Indian, so they grew up in India, and I'm Anglo-Indian, which is mixed heritage. And I've been working on something for a while. I don't know if you can see it, but this, I don't know on my phone whether it will come through, but I started writing the positives and negatives of being mixed race, which was quite interesting. And then this was all done in 2016. And then I did this picture. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, just about.
Of myself. And now I've just done one now. Which there. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, great.
Because I'm stood in the blue pyramid, and pyramids are very significant to me for energy.
Oh, right, yes.
So, and then I've got a yellow brick road. Okay. So,
Back to the howling old owl in the woods.
Yeah.
So I use writing, colouring in and drawing for healing and transformation, I suppose you can call it. Which, you know, it makes sense to me. It might not be to anybody else. And this is just the last one that I did, which again I did a few years ago, which was about mixing my heritages up. There, yeah, okay.
No, that's great. Thank you, Jennifer. It's really nice to see people that draw it as well. I think it can be such kind of a complementary thing to have writing and drawings, because people express themselves so differently. So having such a mix would be brilliant. I'd be so interested to read that if you ever put it all together and get something. I'd definitely be interested.
Oh, thank you. I think it's good. I can't draw, I might add, as you can tell.
I would have thought that. What were you going to say? Sorry, Ruth.
No, I was just going to say, I think that using different ways of zoning in almost onto our memories is good as well. You're talking about sort of drawings and heritage, but even thinking about, you mentioned, it was when you mentioned the Yellow Brick Road, and I was thinking about the film or the song, and I think thinking about music that's been important to us, or talking about a book that we've read, or a film that means something. All those different ways are ways of accessing memories, and you know, can lead to interesting stories and things.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, again, we're just saying there's no wrong answer. Is there any way you want to tell a story is the right way that comes to you naturally. Does anyone else want to share anything?
Do you think I've got time to read that poem, Lydia?
What do you think, Ruth? We've got 10 minutes.
That's fine.
All right, this is one I wrote when I first started suffering from the condition that I'm sadly still suffering from, which is not a very well-known one. It's in my pelvis. And people were saying, "Oh, you're so brave, Jude. Oh my God, you're so..." So this is my retort. It's called Stronger. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. They say that. They say that a lot. They say that, and they do not think beyond 7 words. Do they have any idea of the insult other than words which are inane, facile, fatuous, glib, uncaring, trivial, inconsiderate, hasty, pat, and stupid? Why is that expression not banned? Strength is not measured in a vacuum. There is no dosage of strength. There's no strongman award for force of the soul. Strength of character rises from solid foundation, not the shaky one. Human strength is revealed in adversity, but it glows in the warm, it shimmers in the sun, and it flourishes after a spring shower. Do not tell me to be strong. Do not treat strength like a scout badge. See me strong, wish me strong, love me strong, will me strong, enjoy my strength. Because I do not wish to be strong. I wish to give in. I wish to wave the pain away. You can have the lemonade and pour it into that half-full glass.
That's really, really lovely. Well, thank
Lydia,
you.
I didn't know about your collection, but maybe there'll be another one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you very much for reading that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Judith. That was brilliant.
Very powerful. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you.
Anyone else? So we've got about 10 minutes left, and Ruth has got a bit more writing. She can share with us if anyone else doesn't have anything that they'd like to share. I just wrote down, I just remember when I got called a female version of a class clown, and it really annoyed me because I just thought, why do class clowns, why can't they be women? So that's always stuck with me. I think if I did an autobiography, I'd love to call it a female version of a class clown. That's always stuck with me. So that'd be my chapter heading. Yeah. Anyone else got any other little thoughts on that exercise? If not, Ruth can read her.
I just wondered, Lydia, if you would consider writing more about that now that you've got the chapter heading. As it's sort of, or do you feel that's the finished product?
No, I think I'll always want to write more about that and kind of take the mick out of lots of kind of issues and just been a gobby northern woman, why that's seen how it is. So, that's always something I want to write about, don't worry.
I'm gonna have to get you one of those T-shirts that were in vogue in 2016 in the United States. Where women were walking around with T-shirts that said "nasty." I am a nasty woman, or I'm a proud nasty woman.
Yeah.
Because it was so obviously so sexist what was said.
I'll put that as a chapter heading, definitely.
And I saw people actually wearing the T-shirts and the badges and stuff.
Fab. Yeah. So Ruth is going to share a little bit more of her writing with us, and then if you've got any questions for Ruth, just be thinking of those now, and you can ask them afterwards.
This one is linked so much into what's been discussed and what you've just read, Judith. And actually, I called it "Getting Up with the Inspirational." And I was asked to write something, and somebody said, write something about your day. This was what was required of me. And I started writing, and as you'll hear, it's only about the first half an hour or so of my day, but we'll see how it goes. Getting up with the inspirational. I lie in bed. I'm not pain-free, but I'm warm and comfortable under the floral high thread count duvet. The alarms have jangled rudely. I have answered by pulling another pillow over my head. I am contemplating nothing. The snooze buttons have snoozed themselves out. It is 20 years on. Was it really me, the woman who 20 years ago prided herself on being an early morning person? Did I really go to the gym before work? I played tennis, swam quick lanes up and down, practicing and timing my different strokes. After this, I had a quick shower. Did I have breakfast then or before I left home? I don't know. My memory isn't that good. I have a serious traumatic brain injury. No doubt it's not helped by the age and the intervening years. I attempt to plug the gaps, to make sense of the fragments of life before injury. They swirl around my mind. They're photo clear, but like dancing confetti, they're too thin, too quick to grasp. I know that I was an early morning person. This has been confirmed many times by friends retelling stories from 30 or 40 years ago. For example, I've heard how Rachel and I topped and tailed the day when she was up against it as a student, trying to complete her dissertation. She stayed up each night, taking Pro Plus tablets and smoking, then crumpling packets of red Marlboro Lights. I'd get up as sleep brought her to bed. I'd struggle to read her almost illegible scribble and type slowly with one finger on the borrowed Amstrad. I think, oh, maybe it wasn't the Amstrad, but this time we had borrowed, maybe it was the time we'd borrowed an electric typewriter from my mother. I'm not sure which, but I do remember lining up the white Tipex paper to blot out the mistakes I made. There was no delete or back buttons for easy editing in the mid-1980s. A delete, a back button, correction fluid or ink. What an interesting thought. I wonder whether I'd press one of those to go back to a different, earlier version of me if I were able. I allow myself for a moment to imagine the limbs coming back and attaching themselves to my body, the joints loosening up, the disfigurements reconfiguring, the cuts and scars healing themselves. Stop, don't go there. It's 2020, stay in the now, get up and face the day. I reach out. I grab and hold on to the monkey pole. I'm surprised it's not been given another name, given its connotations of a zoo. My hand holds tight around the cold metal bed bars. I pull myself inch by inch to the side of the bed. Stop, breathe, move the bag of urine, lean over just far enough to reach the wheelchair controller, but not too far that I lose balance and risk falling. Yes, you assume right. I have fallen before and I've had to call on paramedics to hoist me up and out of the awkward small space between bed and wheelchair. Be careful, I tell myself. I'm still attached to my ventilator. Turn it off. Take off the mask. Don't think about the red marks around my nose, my mouth, the back of my neck. Jumping out of bed stopped dramatically in 2000 when I had my longest sleep in a coma. Getting out of bed independently became a struggle. Nurses, carers, family partners, and now an assortment of aides, which I resent for making the romantic, pretty haven of my imagined bedroom resemble the impersonal and functional hospital ward, enable me to eventually leave my bed each morning. My bed is what they call a hospital bed. It rises and lowers electrically. 3 sections can be moved independently or in sync. It's ugly. It's large with a metal headrest and footrest. The mattress is hard, made of plastic, covered by a pressure sore prevention topper, which has to be inflated weekly. Yesterday, a photograph of me surfaced on Facebook. It was me, strapped up tightly and grinning widely. I am with friends in the Lake District, and I am ready for my first ever experience on a zip wire. The picture is a year old, and well over 100 people have liked it. I've glanced over the comments and seen the familiar words that are often used about people like me, people who live with disabilities, the words which were used when we do something that maybe is not what expected. Many find me inspirational. I think I've been called heroic. A few of the comments go back to my recovery. They talk about my fight, my spirit. I find it hard to respond. I want to thank my friends for being with me, supporting me, putting their arms around me. But I also want to shout, to question, to argue, to say that living with disabilities is not just about the zip wire. It's not just about Paralympian strength or sporting prowess. It's about finding a way and a reason for getting up each and every morning. It's about tackling obstacles and difficulties in a world designed for the able-bodied. It's about staying strong when you are labelled vulnerable. It's about managing independently when the care system fails to address your needs or ask you about your needs. Sometimes all that is really hard, and getting out of bed is about all that I can achieve.
Very good.
It's quite nicely into
Yeah.
sort of a lot of the things that have been said in this very, very short hour.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
So fantastic. Thank you, Ruth. I am just conscious it is just coming up to 4:30, but I think that's a really great way to end. And I'm sure everyone will agree that hearing Ruth's work and experiencing that has been absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much, Ruth. I, for one, have really enjoyed it, and I'm sure everyone else has. We'll make sure to get all the autobiographical recommendations out to everyone over email. And you can have my email as well. So if you've got any questions, any feedback, or anything you want to be passed on to Ruth, kind of questions, you can direct those to me, and I'll make sure that we respond to that. So if no one's got any kind of burning things they want to say, I think we can kind of wrap that up. Are you happy with that?
Lydia, do you want to say about some of the, because I think you've got a couple of other opportunities for people to do writing?
Yeah, so I think most people I've worked with at Carers Leeds, but if not, we do run some different kind of wellbeing and creative activities. So if you are interested in that, always just ask me any questions. I'm more than happy to talk about all the different things we've got happening at Carers Leeds and find out more about that.
Lydia, can I just mention about a group that I'm involved in Leeds called Performance Ensembler?
Yeah.
There's about 30 of us. We do spoken word with drama and dance. It's open to anyone over the age of 60, although I'm not quite 60 yet, I'm 59, but anyway. I've got a BBC Sounds story, which is a minute long, about my trip to India last year. It's a great group. We meet every Friday on Zoom for 2 hours. We have various speakers, talks. We're doing something at the Leeds Playhouse in January, hopefully, on the garden. So we're always wanting more people to get involved, regardless of ethnicity, sexuality, age, whatever. Well, over 60, as I say, but 59 plus. And if anyone wants any more details, we're always looking for people to contribute. I've been involved in the group for four years now. It's great. Next, in 2022, we're going to be doing something called Bus Ride, where we'll be taking our stories around the city in a bus.
Oh, wow.
Stopping at different locations.
Hey.
It would be great, and other people, if you could join us. It's a really inclusive group, and Alan and Heather, who run it, are fantastic. Experienced theatre, drama writers, a lot of creative people. Please try and find out more. I think there is a website.
Yeah, I've got the contact details somewhere, so I'll make sure kind of any kind of writing groups, we'll make sure that everyone's got all the details for that.
I'm in one called Savages. In fact, we're having a meeting later. Lead Savage Club. We are savage by name, but not by nature. And actually, and I would be happy to recruit new people. In fact, we meet on alternate Wednesdays. So we actually have a meeting in a couple of hours.
So many creative people, it's brilliant.
Yeah. It would be great if any of you all could join us.
Great. Is there anything that you need to say at the end, Fern, to kind of?
No, it's just thanks everyone for coming, and thanks Lydia for leading it, and everyone else for joining in and giving some great stories. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
That's all right. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I think everyone's been brilliant, and really thank everyone for getting really stuck in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.